What's up everyone on the internet? Thank you for making this video part. I'm so excited to upload this one for you guys because for this Talk Around the Block, I figured I would talk about my personal top 10 favorite movies of all time. For this list, I'm basically going to be looking at some movies that I have watched over the years that I absolutely love because I will watch them over and over and over and over again. And because I'm one of the few people who still buys physical media, I actually have the DVDs and Blu-rays right here, like no joke, they're right next to the treadmill right now. So in no particular order, I'm just basically going to give you the list of movies that I like. And I think we're just going to start off with the DVDs and then we'll move on from the Blu-rays because I looked at it right now and it looks like I have 5 DVDs and I have 5 Blu-rays. So we'll just go through the DVDs first, give you a brief overall summary of what I think about the movie, and then we'll go on to the Blu-rays and I'll do the same thing as well. So the first movie we're going to talk about is Joker, and for me, what I really like about this movie is not only do I love Joaquin Phoenix's performance as the Joker, I mean, I won him an Oscar, but I also love Hildur Guðnadóttir's music throughout the film because not only did she also win the Oscar, but she also won several awards as well for the movie, and I love how like this music she plays, like when Archer's in the bathroom dancing, or like when like he's getting beaten down by the kids, like at the I think it's the very beginning of the movie. And I also love like the other moments, like when he meets Bruce Wayne, and obviously that ending. I mean, I love that ending where he just gives that bloody smile. I remember when I watched it in the theater, I was like, holy crap, this is crazy. I mean, this movie just dialed up to a 10 for me. And I love like how basically throughout the movie we basically see how a bit of Arthur gets chipped away and a little bit of Joker gets put in. I love how you see how Arthur slowly dying within himself and the Joker is just being born throughout the movie. And I love also like the overall message of the movie is like, don't treat people like crap. You don't know what people have gone through. You see someone getting bullied, come on, just stand up for them, or at least say something. I also like how this movie is basically, it's not your stereotypical like comic book movie. There's not like a lot of explosions, it's not like about car chases or anything, but really it's basically like a very crime drama. I love how like or not a crime drama, more like a psychological drama, because you really see how this one person had one bad day after another and it just really pushed him over the edge. And I just love how basically from the beginning you see how Arthur's basically like, he's very hunched, he just walks, he's really like depressed a lot of times, and he's suffering a lot of like mental problems, whatever. And throughout the movie, like, as a bit of the Joker comes out, he gets a little bit more swag, he gets a little bit more confidence, he starts building up, he feels like, yeah, I'm somebody now. And so, but in the wrong way. And so I love how it's basically a character study. And one of the things that really helped me watch this movie was I watched Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, and I can totally see where they got like the character development for Taxi Driver, because you really see how like basically how Arthur is being pushed over the edge to the point where he wants to start committing crimes and stuff as the Joker. And with King of Comedy, there are a lot of elements in the movie where it's like, you don't know if this is real or not. You don't know if the scene played out for real or if it's like just in all Arthur's mind. And I love how they took that aspect from King of Comedy. So that's why I really love Joker, and I think that's why I would put this on my top 10 movies of all time. So the next movie we're going to talk about is The Grey. And for me, this is my favorite Liam Neeson movie of all time, because the movie is about basically a group of survivors who just survived a plane crash in the middle of Alaska, and they're basically left to fend for themselves. And Liam Neeson's one of the guys, and he says like, we gotta get out of here because like if we don't move right now, we're all screwed because we're gonna freeze to death in this place. And not only do they have to survive like the freezing temperatures of Alaska, but they also gotta survive like being hunted down by a pack of wolves. I love how this movie it's basically a survival movie. A movie about basically man versus the elements versus the wild. I love how basically like the music, again, like the music in this movie is so good. This movie's by, like, I think the music is by Mark Streitenfeld. And I also remember, like, this movie was released back in 2011. And at the time, I was getting ready for my ACT or SAT or something about that. I can't remember. All I know is I didn't do that well on that test. But I do remember when I was studying, the album was released from this whole movie. And I remember I listened to every single song from the movie. And the music is, like, not what you think. It's not like this heavy beat, like, survival-themed music or something like that. Something, like, very heavy. But no, it's very small, very subtle, and even when like people are dying left and right, the music is just very subtle. It's like almost kind of peaceful, how like sometimes when these people die, it's almost peaceful because they don't have to experience like the horrors they're going through right now as they're trying to survive and get out of the woods. But I also like how the movie is basically like Liam Neeson trying to get back home, and the reveal at the end is like, okay, well, yeah, I'm not gonna spoil the ending, but also I want to talk about the ending. I know a lot of people give crap about the ending. I kind of like it. It builds up and throughout the whole movie, and like even the music as well, because the music kind of builds up at the very end of the movie, and I could see why, like how like at the very end that people were kind of disappointed of how the movie ended. But I overall like the whole movie, so that's why I put this on my top 10 movies. So the next movie we're going to talk about is my favorite sports-related film of all time, and that would be Warrior. It's got Joel Edgerton and Tom Hardy and even Nick Nolte in it. And the movie is basically about two brothers who have grown very distant from each other after their parents divorced. And this is also about their father as well, Nick Nolte. And the movie is basically how these two brothers are basically struggling to just get by these days, and how they really got a lot of issues with their dad because his dad was once an alcoholic, and the only way these three members really come together is an MMA tournament that's being held, because for one brother is that if he doesn't pay like the mortgage bills, then his family's gonna be kicked out of his house and he's not gonna be able to have a home. The other brother's fighting for other personal reasons because he used to be in the army, so he's fighting for one of his fallen brothers. And while Nick Nolte's training one of them, the other brother's being trained by one of their best friends. And so basically, this whole like family drama that's happened between them, and so this whole family drama soon comes crashing down on them when they have to soon fight each other in the MMA ring. And I think it's one of the most, like basically one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen, because I think a lot about my brother and I and our dad. And so seeing the two of them fight while their dad is just basically watching them tear each other apart in the ring, it's pretty hard to watch. But when you also watch it, it's very motivating too, because there are some good motivation speeches in this movie that are so freaking good. Also, like Nick Nolte freaking kills it in this movie, because there's one scene, like I will say, like he listens to a lot of Moby Dick, I mean, as like an audiobook, and so there is one scene where he just goes full on Captain Ahab in this movie, and it's freaking frightening. I mean, like shit, I didn't know what I would do if I encountered my dad like that. And so I think for me, this is one of my favorite sports related movies of all time. If you're into MMA or like really family drama, I would highly suggest you watch this movie. It's pretty good. I mean, not gonna lie, I get a little teared up every time I watch this movie, and so that's why I would put this at one of my favorite top 10 movies of all time. Now, the next movie we're going to talk about is from the Planet of the Apes franchise, and for me, my favorite Planet of the Apes movie of all time will always be Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And for me, like I've watched every single movie from the Planet of the Apes franchise, from the originals to the ones today, and I even watched the Mark Wahlberg one, and I really love it, because I mean, come on, apes on horses, forget about it. It's just freaking awesome. And I love that in this movie, it's basically about Caesar and his son, while you have, I forgot who was in this movie again, let me see, Jason Clarke and his family just trying to survive in this post-apocalyptic world. And I love how basically how the apes like talk, because the apes, like, they really talk in this movie, but I love how like they use sign language, and it really plays out throughout the whole movie. And I love how like basically in like throughout the movie you do see how like while Caesar's willing to work with the humans, some of the apes don't really like it. They think like they only see humans as these monsters, because some of them were treated like crap from the humans before this whole virus broke out. And I love how like I think for me, I think it's in the third act where you see like Caesar go up against one of the apes, and it's almost kind of like watching like Scar and Simba go at each other at the final like, moments of The Lion King. It's so good. I love how the music plays out just like how it would like for the original movies, like bum 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 bum, and it's like so, it's very like really cool. I love also like how there's a moment in the movie where one of the apes, whose name is Koba, he doesn't like the humans, but there's a moment in the movie where he basically is like not very willing to work with him yet, and like Caesar's like, okay, we're gonna work with them, and he's like, let them do their work and then they'll go home. And then he just basically looks at them and he just goes like, human work, and he just points like a scar on him from like a surgery he had, and he goes, human work, on the scar on his chest or whatever, and he goes, human work, and like his face is all deformed, and like you see like, yeah, he was basically a lab rat for the humans, so he knows like the darker side of them. And I also love how like in like throughout the movie, you do see how like Cobra is basically trying to plot against Caesar, and you see how like he even kind of plays the stereotypical role of like a chimp from a zoo, but like going like basically kind of like act like a monkey basically in front of these people who do not know this ape wants to freaking kill them, and he does that in order to get past them, in order to get the guns they have. And I think it's really cool how this movie does play, like, you do see how like that one character like get pushed over the edge throughout the movie, how like it's slowly building up, how like things were working well for him, but as soon as the humans came out, like he just snapped. He basically, like, his inner demons came out and he couldn't control it. And I love how also like this movie is a lot about like family and working together during like times of crisis, and it kind of reminds me of like how we're going through right now. If like we don't work together, we're not gonna make it that far. And I like how like Caesar's willing to work with the humans, and the humans are very willing to work with him. But at the same time, on both sides, there are good apes, there are bad apes, and there are good humans, and there are bad humans, and it's pretty wild. So that's why I'll put that movie on one of my top 10 favorite movies. Okay, so the last movie we got for the DVDs portion of this video is The Dark Knight, and for me, I mean, come on, this is like this is the godfather of all superhero movies. I freaking love this movie. I love it so much that I can quote every single scene from the movie. I mean, that's how much I've watched this movie. And I remember back in 2008, my cousins took me to like a local theater nearby, and they go like, "We're gonna see The Dark Knight." I'm like, "Oh, sweet! I haven't seen a Batman movie at all." And by then, like by the time I saw this movie, I was basically a Batman virgin. I had no clue about the character at all. I had no idea what was going on. I basically thought, okay, it's only about Batman, there's Alfred, and then there's a Joker. That's all I know about my Batman knowledge. And so after seeing this movie, I was like, oh my god, this is freaking incredible. So to have this movie introduce me to the world of Batman, not just the movies, but also the comic books and TV shows in general, I mean, wow, it was just freaking crazy. And for me, it's like another thing that also like hits me on this movie is the music as well, because Hans Zimmer freaking kills in this movie. I love like basically how like for like you have also the Batman theme, like bum bum dun 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 bum 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 or something like that. But I love how you also have the Joker theme, which is just this one single violin string being pulled to the edge. It never breaks, and you feel like the tension through the movie. And I remember that music plays perfectly whenever like he encounters someone and tells him the story about how he got the scars. And I mean like I was legitimately scared of clowns after watching this movie, because I remember when he first introduced the scene where it's like, you want to know how I got these scars? And he talks about how like his father was a drunk and a fiend, and he's basically puts a knife in that one guy's mouth. I was literally shaking in my seat. I was like, oh my god, 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 oh my god. And again, that scene happens again when he meets Rachel at the dinner party. And I love how like, while like everyone is basically held at gunpoint, he's just dancing around, like playing with his toys, and he's just tooling around with this lady. And I love how also everyone kills in this movie. I mean, Maggie Gyllenhaal. Let me go through the movies right now. Actually, wait, it doesn't give actually the cast in this movie. Oh wait, it does. Hang on. I mean, yes, Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Heath Ledger. I mean, worthy of the Oscar for I think it was supporting role. And then you got Aaron Eckhart. I mean, who is born to play basically Harvey Dent. I love how throughout the movie you do see Harvey Dent, like he is fighting for good, he is fighting for justice. But then there are moments where like his morality gets tested, and when it's too late, he becomes Two-Face, and then honestly, he becomes the opposite of what he fought for. And I also like, yeah, Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman's so freaking good in this movie, and Gary Oldman as well. I mean, Commissioner Gordon is so good. I mean, but for me, also one of my favorite moments. I think it's my favorite movie moment of all time. I think it would have to be the interrogation scene, because you really get to see Batman Joker's like moralities or their true nature come out. Because while Batman stands for basically order and justice, the Joker is the exact opposite, and you see how basically when he's trying to interrogate him, it's basically impossible to break the Joker. And I love how the Joker basically says, you have nothing to threaten me with, nothing to do with all your strength. And while Joker is basically beating him to a pulp, or actually wait, while Batman's basically beating him to a pulp and the Joker is just laying on the floor laughing like a maniac. So yeah, The Dark Knight is basically one of the best superhero films of all time, and I will dare say that to any Marvel fan, because I mean, look, this movie, it's not your stereotypical superhero movie. Yes, there are car chases, yes, there are explosions, but when you really think about it, when you really watch this movie, you really see basically it's a crime drama, basically about this one law enforcer who is just trying to go after this one psychopathic serial killer who's just causing chaos throughout the city, and I freaking loved it. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to go on to the Blu-ray portion of this video, and I'm looking at the clock right now. I've been walking for about 30 minutes, so I'm guessing right now the video is probably about 15 minutes long or 14 minutes long. I don't know, we'll see. And I'm actually starting to sweat a little bit, so I'm just going to basically run down these movies as fast as I can. So the first movie we're going to talk about for the Blu-ray portion of this movie is The Last Samurai. So yeah, this movie is basically kind of like another version of Dancing with Wolves, which is basically about one outsider being thrown into a world that they don't know and soon embracing the world that they've lived in. And that's the overall basically summary of the whole movie, is that you see this American captain go to Japan and then all of a sudden be captured by a bunch of samurai, but then slowly he starts to learn the world they are and basically respects like their way of life. And for me, one of the things I really love about this movie that just gets me every time is the music. I mean, for me, music plays a really big part for movies. If the music's really good, I'm probably gonna like the movie. And for me, like, Hans Zimmer composes this movie, and the music, oh my god, it's so freaking good. I mean, you really get to see the Japanese influence in this like composed work. And what I really like about this movie is also, yeah, the action. The action's pretty damn good. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like seeing Tom Cruise just wield a sword and just go at it on several guys, it's pretty awesome. So yeah, I mean, I would put Last Samurai on one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. If you like Tom Cruise, if you like samurai films, you're probably gonna like this one. So the next movie on our list is actually our first Disney-related film, and that would be The Jungle Book. And I'm also going to say that I'm also going to count like the original 1968 version of The Jungle Book and also 2016 version of like The Jungle Book, which was a live action. And I'll go as far as to say the live action was actually really good. I really love the live action version of the film, and I also like the original animated classic. And so for me, I really like the movie because I mean, there's nothing really going on. It's just basically just a couple of friends hanging out, having a good time. And when you watch that movie, you feel kind of basically, you feel like a good skip in your step. You feel a little bit happy. You feel a little bit like you can get through the day. And one of the things I liked about the remake was basically, man, it's freaking brutal. I mean, you see like the tigers and the panthers go at each other. And what I also love about is that how like in the first movie where you see the tiger, in like the original classic, the tiger is basically almost like a gentleman. And when you see the 2016 remake, man, he ain't screwing around. He wants to come after you. And that's one of the things I like about this movie. Also, like, the visual effects for the 2016 version, I mean, holy crap. I remember watching the theater and I was like, whoa, this looks freaking good. And when I heard the news that Jon Favreau was going to make The Lion King, I was like, oh, hell yeah, he's going to make The Lion King. After watching The Jungle Book, I was like, dude, freaking go for it, man. Go do The Lion King. I can't wait to see that. And so for me, like, I mean, it's without question, The Jungle Book, the live action or the anime classic, it's one of my favorite Disney movies of all time. So with that being said, that leads me to the next movie on our list, which is actually The Lion King. And I'm also going to include the 2019 remake. Now, I know a lot of you didn't really like it, but for me, it's like I went into that movie knowing that, hey, look, this movie, it's not going to live up to the 1994 original classic, but I'm going to give it a chance. I'm not going to put my expectations so high. And you know, I really liked it. And for me, it's like the original 1994 animated classic is the best version. I mean, I love it. Like from beginning to end. I mean, like watching like the seven, yeah. It's like, oh, this is gonna be magical. And I love how, like, again, the music. Hans Zimmer composed the movie from the 1994 classic and also the 2019 live action remake. And you know what? The music, it always gets me. And I think the one music that I love listening to over and over and over is like the ending of the movie where you see like Simba like slowly walk up Pride Rock. It's like da 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 da, and you see like you hear him like Mufasa like remember. I was like, ah. And for me, it's also like whenever I watch this movie, I think about me and my dad. I think about like the bond that we have with each other, and like it kind of almost like for me, it's like I like to think of it as like a Simba Mufasa sort of thing, and I love how. Basically, the overall story is that basically it's about this kid losing their dad and just going through the world without them, and it's pretty rough because I mean, yeah, every time, I'm not gonna lie, every time I watch Mufasa die, I freaking tear up. And I remember when I saw the 2019 remake, I was like, I was just crying and babbling like an idiot. I felt so bad, but hey, look, I really love this movie. And I think a lot of people who grew up watching this will agree to that as well, that we love The Lion King. I mean, Scar is basically the #1 Disney villain of all time. I mean, like, from like, yeah, Be Prepared, and the fact he's going to kill freaking Simba at a young age. I mean, yeah, the movie plays a lot like Hamlet, but it's really, really good. And I really love, like, basically, like, the whole place is in Africa. It's all about animals. And growing up as a kid, I really love watching basically Animal Planet, Discovery Channel, watching real lions take out real wildebeest and just going on freedom frenzy. And I love watching that sort of thing as a kid. So watching this movie, it was like my introduction to that. I really love animals. So that's why I would put The Lion King as one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. And I think I'll go as far as say this is my favorite Disney movie of all time. Alright, so we're coming on a stretch here in this video. And so for this next movie, regardless of what you feel about it, I don't care what you say, I hold this movie dear to my heart. And that'll be freaking Man of Steel. Because for me, like just like how The Dark Knight was my introduction to Batman, Man of Steel was my introduction to Superman. I remember watching the movie back in 2013. Like, I remember like my family was gonna go see a movie and we had our options. It was either gonna see Man of Steel or Now You See Me, which was that Jesse Eisenberg like magic show movie. And I was like, no way, I want to see freaking Superman. And I remember watching the first like opening scenes of the movie, which is basically the Krypton being destroyed and everything's going freaking nuts. Hans Zimmer's score just blew me out of the park with the dun 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 dun. Watching everything just go freaking batshit crazy. I was like really like, oh my god, holy crap, this is freaking awesome. Because at the time Injustice came out, and I remember playing like, yeah, one of my favorite things about the game is like, yeah, it's basically superhero versus superhero, and it's the DC universe, and I like to play as like superheroes, and I like playing up against Batman and Superman and watching them just throw each other across the screen and like transitioning to different levels where they just freaking just destroy the cities left and right. So playing that video game and watching this movie, it really enhanced my experience. And again, like I mentioned it before, Hans Zimmer's work is freaking beautiful in this movie. I will go as far as to say that that is my favorite work from him of all time. And I think I mentioned in the last, like I think one of the Talk Around the Block videos, where I basically have almost every single song from that soundtrack, because I love the overall Superman theme, which is the dun 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 dun. And I love how like basically it's basically this alien who is just like who basically made his home here. And I love how like Michael Shannon's like General Zod is freaking amazing. I don't care what you say about the movie, Michael Shannon kills it as General Zod. And I remember throughout the movie, I love like the action. The action for me, it's pretty damn awesome. Like for me, it's like, I'm probably gonna get shot on the internet for this, but for me, like the action of this movie, like the devastation and destruction is like Avenger equivalent, because like, I mean like the Avenger, like Superman can cause just as much damage as the Avengers it does in one movie. And I love how like that final confrontation between Zod and Superman, where basically Zod's like, hey, guess what? I'm gonna kill every single person on this planet, and they just go full at each other. And my favorite part of the whole movie is they're staring down at each other, and Zod's like, there's only one way this ends, Cal. Either you die or I do. And I love like, you ain't giving Superman much of a choice, and it's like it leads to this freaking like godlike battle where you see these two people just going at each other in the streets and buildings and then freaking in space, and it ends off like in this kind of like, I forget what building they crash in, but you see like pillars. It looks almost like basically a pantheon, and you see these two basically gods just go at each other, which leads to that one controversial scene where it's like, where Superman, like spoiler alert, Superman basically snaps General Zod's neck, and a lot of people were turned off around that point because it kind of like people were thinking, no, Superman wouldn't do that. Like, you forget, he had no choice. It was either like basically let Zod live and let him kill every single person on the planet, or just kill him right now and stop where it goes. And I mean, you don't give him much of a choice. I love how like it basically pushed Superman to the limits throughout this movie, like to the point where it's like, yeah, like if the world knew who he was, they would reject him, they would see him as a threat, but he had to live among them to know like, yeah, this is right, this is wrong, and what Zod was doing was wrong, and he had to do what he could to prevent like the destruction of his planet. So regardless of how you felt, I really love Man of Steel. I think it's one of my favorite super movies of all time because like I remember at the time it came out, I was basically lifting weights, I was working out, I was doing runs, because like the music in the movie is a good workout music. I will freaking lift weights to that. And so that's why I put this on one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. If not, I'll put it on my top 5 favorite movies of all time. Alright, so we've reached the final movie for this video, and for me, like, if you know me, you know that I would not make a top 10 related movies without mentioning one single movie from this particular franchise, and that would be freaking Star Wars. Because for me, it's like, Star Wars is basically, it's embedded in my DNA. I freaking love every single movie from this whole franchise, regardless of how you felt about the recent movies that have come out from Disney. I love them. I think they're pretty good. Now, to tell you which movie I love from this franchise to be number 1 on that list and number 1 on my top 10 movies of all time, it's obviously gonna be Solo, a Star Wars story. No, I'm just kidding. For me, the number 1 movie I have for Star Wars and the number 1 movie I have for my top 10 list, it's obviously gonna be Empire Strikes Back. I love that movie from beginning to end. I can like almost quote almost every single scene from that movie. I love how the movie, it shows Luke Skywalker going on the journey of becoming a Jedi. You see him train with Yoda on Dagobah. At the same time, you see Han Solo, Leia, Chewie, even 3PO going on their own adventure to Cloud City. I also love how basically Darth Vader is just pursuing them. Like, he's like freaking determined to get Luke Skywalker. And I mean, for me, like, that lightsaber clash at the end, because it goes like whoosh, whoosh, where Vader and Luke are going at it in the carbonite freezing chamber through like basically throughout Cloud City. It's freaking awesome seeing those two go at each other, and then it builds up, because at first you see like Vader, he's like going soft on Luke, he wants him to tap into his rage, but when Luke gets a little out of hand, Vader goes full on like, okay, you know what, screw it, I'm done playing around, now we're gonna go in hard mode. And Vader is basically just, he's just toying with Luke now, to the point where he cuts his arm off, leading to that big reveal at the end where it's like, I mean, like, spoiler if you haven't seen Star Wars yet, but I mean, leading to that one of my favorite movie moments, which is like, Luke, I am your father. I mean, or actually, no way, it's, scratch that, it's not Luke, I remember I watched the movie, it's, no, I am your father. And I remember watching that as a kid, I was like, oh my god. I remember, like, I was a wee little kid when my dad introduced me to Star Wars, and it's like, that franchise has just become a part of who I am, because it introduced me to science fiction, and it introduced me to like these crazy characters, and I love, like, for me, obviously I love lightsabers, because I mean, the way like the Jedi are portrayed throughout those movies, it made me like feel like, oh my god, I love it. I love like that faction of the Star Wars universe. I love the Force related stuff, and I love how this movie, it's not afraid to go dark, because you do see like it leaves on a dark of a cliffhanger. And basically, yeah, the Empire Strikes Back for me is like the godfather of all like Star Wars movies, and I think it set the standard for sequels, because I mean, after that movie came out, sequels are like, they could like, you could treat sequels as like, wow, you can go dark if you want. And that's why it's like also kind of like whenever I read the reviews for like movies like The Dark Knight or Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, those two movies were also sequels. I remember the reviews for them. The reviews were like, this is the Empire Strikes Back of that franchise. And so I'm like, holy crap, there's a phrase now, the Empire Strikes Back. Now it's like, if a sequel just kills it and goes like on a dark of a cliffhanger, then you know like it's done its job, because like basically the Empire Strikes Back did that as well, and it's like, oh my god. And so for me, that's why I would put The Empire Strikes Back on my top 10 favorite movies of all time, sitting near at the top, among the top 5 favorite movies of all time. And also as well, I gotta say this again, the music, John Williams' score throughout the entire movie is freaking beautiful. I love the Imperial March, I love Yoda's theme, I love Han Solo's theme and Leia's theme as well, when they're just like having their romantic scene. And also, I mean, come on, that romance is so freaking beautiful. I mean, I love how basically like when Han's about to be frozen in carbonite and Leia says, I love you, and instead of saying, I love you too, Han Solo just killed it saying, I know. I mean, come on. I mean, there's never been a better romance than those two. It's so freaking good. And seeing like the father relationship between Luke and basically Darth Vader, it's so I'll just like basically, I'm spazzing out right now. I can't take it anymore. I gotta end this video. I better just watch the movie right now. And so to conclude this video, yes, I will put Empire Strikes Back among the top 5 favorite movies of all time for me. So that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Those were my favorite movies of all time. If you like what you saw, click on the subscribe button so you can get all these updates from this channel. If you have any questions or topics you want me to talk about in the next Talk Around the Block, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Stay safe, stay healthy. I'll see you all next time with a brand new video. Bye-bye.